call the meeting to order at 6:03, and the first item of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So next, agenda review. I don't know that we have any items for amendment here. Seeing none, we will move right into the meeting organization. And the first order of business is to call for nominations for board chair. Do I have any nominations for board chair?
I will nominate Jen Chevalier for board chair.
Have a nomination for Jen Chevalier for board chair. Are there any other nominations?
I nominate Devin Batchelder.
Have a nomination for Devin Batchelder for board chair. Any other nominations? Any other nominations? I will call that closed. So we have a nomination for Jen Chevalier and a nomination for Devin Batchelder. Do we want to vote for one party and then the other with a show of hands? Is that what makes the most sense? So all those in favor for Jen Chevalier as board chair, signifying by saying aye.
Aye.
Maybe with a show of hands too, that would be helpful.
Julie?
Yes, Don?
Julie?
Yes?
I don't think the law allows it that way.
You don't?
No. Let me read something to you. After I talked with you today, I got thinking about it, so I called the Secretary of State's office because I wanted to make certain that if I did anything on Zoom, I wasn't out of line.
Right.
And this is what the Secretary of State sent me. Vermont statutes annotated, section 312, subtitle A and 2B. If one or more members attend a meeting by electronic or other means, such members may fully participate in discussing the business of the public body and voting to take action. But any vote of the public body that is not unanimous shall be taken by roll call.
Yes.
So this is not unanimous, so it needs to go by roll call. So I don't know if you do the roll call or the clerk does the roll call.
I think that I should. We have not, during Zoom, we have not always done a roll, well, most of our motions have been unanimous. And we've seen visual, but yes, we should be careful and do a roll call. So why don't I back up and ask for votes for Jen Chevalier, and we'll do it by roll call. So I'll start with you, Don. How do you vote?
All right. My vote is for Devin Batchelder, and this is fine to start with me, but the suggestion, this is not a requirement in law, but a suggestion was it be done alphabetically of the members in attendance, either in person or by Zoom. That way you won't be accused of trying to favor one voter over the other. So I don't care, I'm perfectly willing to speak first.
All right, so I'm going to back up again. You're completely right, Don. I was not expecting this wrinkle. So why don't I just, since we're doing a roll call, I can just ask for the vote. Is that acceptable to people? All right, I'm seeing nods. All right. Well, Don, I was going to choose you first because you're on Zoom, and then I can go around the room.
That's fine with me. I have no problem with that at all.
All right, so you're stating your vote for chair is Devin Batchelder?
Yes.
Okay. Rennick.
For Jen Chevalier.
Joanne?
For Jen.
Toby?
For Jen.
Peter?
Devin.
Devin?
Abstain.
I'm looking at you and saying Joanne, I apologize. Meg?
For Jen. Oh, you put on the wrong place.
Jen?
Abstain.
Okay, so it looks as if we have, that's correct. We have 4 for Jen and 2 for Devin. So motion carries. Congratulations, Jen. Next item of business, is that I turn it over to you. And you run the rest of the meeting.
Throw your feet right
I can continue.
Congratulations, Jen.
Congratulations, Jen.
Well, actually, Julie, do you want to continue with this part, please?
I can continue.
And then,
Go from there?
Yeah.
All right, so next we'll be looking for nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Rennick.
Any other nominations?
I nominate Don Collins.
I have a nomination for vice chair for Rennick, Darnell Martin, and a nomination for Don Collins. Are there any other nominations? Nominations being closed, we'll do the same thing now that we've got it down. And we will go around beginning with Don and ask for a roll call vote. So Don Collins, how do you vote?
I'll vote for Don Collins.
Thank you. Rennick?
Vote for Rennick.
Joanne?
I'm gonna vote for Rennick.
Toby?
Rennick.
Peter?
Don Collins.
Devin?
Don Collins.
Megan? Rennick.
Rennick.
Wow.
So we have 5 for Rennick for vice chair and 3 for Don Collins. Congratulations. Next, we are looking for nominations for clerk. Do I have any nominations?
I'll make a nomination for Megan.
The nomination for Megan Conley for clerk. Any other nominations? Any other nominations?
Peter Magnan.
I have a nomination for Peter Magnet for clerk. Any other nominations? All right, I will call nominations closed then and go around with the same process. Don, your vote for Megan or Peter
Peter
for
Mag.
clerk?
Peter Magnan.
Rennick?
Megan.
Joanne?
I'm gonna vote for Peter.
Toby?
Megan.
Peter?
Peter.
Devin?
Peter.
I'll abstain. And Jen?
Megan.
Okay, so we have 4 for Peter and 3 for Megan. Congratulations, Peter. For clerk. So Jen, do you want to carry on with the date and time of regular board meetings? Or do you want?
I'm just gonna have you do section 4 here, really.
Okay.
And then I'll go down this way.
So, date and time of regular board meetings. Right now, we are on the first and third Tuesday of the month. I know there have, sometimes at 6, sometimes at 6:30, so I think we have 2 things to discuss. The day and week, as well as the time of the meeting.
Pretty raise hands. What do we do?
Jump right in, Joanne.
Clerk. I would like to have the same time for both meetings. I enjoy having the 6 o'clock meeting. 6 and 6:30 gets a little confusing sometimes, even though it's the first one's at 6, the second one's at 6:30, it should be fine, but I would just like the same time for both. So if you guys wanna work off from that.
Are we looking for a motion on these ultimately?
Well, I think ordinarily, we would make a motion with a proposal, but I think there's so much discussion around whether we want to keep it the same or not. that, I don't know if anyone is ready to make a motion.
I would prefer to make a motion, and if it gets
And then
voted
go.
down, yeah, that, and
Surely.
then enter into discussion.
Absolutely.
So if the chair would entertain a motion, I'll make a motion for well, I shouldn't say maintaining, first and third, for the first and third Tuesday of the month at 6 PM. I'm open to amending that time. If it doesn't work, I'll start with 6 PM. That's my motion.
Is there a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, Pete, second. Now discussion.
I think we should consider, as I remember Devin had mentioned, that is potentially moving it to the second and fourth Tuesday of the month. That way, I think it deconflicts with some of the town halls.
Select board meeting in
Select
Swanton is
board.
on the first and third Tuesday, yeah.
Was there any drawback to that? Why didn't we do it last time?
Well,
I think because of holiday, many times the holidays are at the end of the month.
I think it's Christmas and Thanksgiving, and we would know we'd have to change it.
Oh,
We always have to change the first one in March anyway, though, because town meeting's that one, so we just have one additional conflict really.
And there's always a conflict somewhere.
Yeah, but we'd at least not be in conflict with Swanton Select Board every month.
So second and fourth.
So we have a motion and a second, and we've had some discussion about it being the first and third versus the second and fourth. Toby, are you interested in amending your motion?
Yeah, I can certainly
Friendly
amend it.
amendment.
I thought it was first and fourth, but that wouldn't make much sense. 'Cause that
Would be back to back.
I will, do we have any more discussion about 6 PM starting time?
I have a question about the days, but I don't know if that's appropriate for right now.
Yeah, go ahead. I mean, we're in discussion.
We're in discussion.
And
So-
I'm open for amending, so.
When previously, the board met monthly, and then when Act 46 went through and we were merging, we expanded it to twice a month with the understanding that eventually it would move back to once a month. Is there still a need to have the full board meet twice a month, or is one plus committees sufficient?
That has been tossed around in the past, but that would be up to the board.
Some months we can't get all of our business done in 2 meetings. I'd hate to think how we'd try to get it done in 1 meeting.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. We really have too much discussion to go on, and sometimes even with just the 2 meetings, we're running really late on the meetings because there's so much. And more presentations coming both from the principals and the students now are coming back to make presentations. I'd hate to be able to miss out on something like that because we're only having 1 meeting. That's just my personal thought.
I think it would be hard pressed to try to get everything into one meeting. Yeah, it really feels like enough, and I think at least with the option of virtual meetings for like scheduling deconflict, I think it still works.
I think MVU's always been twice a month. MVU, right?
Yes.
Was it twice a month?
Yeah, MVU was always twice a month.
When I started?
I think so, when it was a standalone, so I would think, I'm in favor of twice a month.
There were a lot of meetings. All right, so I'm recapping are you making a friendly amendment to make it the second
Yeah,
and
so who
fourth?
seconded me?
I did.
So, if, second and fourth, I'll amend my motion to, the second and fourth Tuesday. I think Peter would have to agree to that, but, I'm okay with that.
I'm agreeable with
Okay, is discussion, are we all set? So all those in favor?
Did we discuss the time? Was that-
We had said 6.
Does everybody, nobody
that-
said anything about this?
Are we still doing once a month the business meeting prior? That's from 6 to 6:30.
I think that's what.
We've had that all in one meeting for the past couple months.
But one starts at 6 and one starts at 6:30 currently.
Now we're just gonna start at 6.
Does that work for you?
I
Or if you're,
Most-
try not
most
to,
times.
try not to be late, but yeah, that's fine.
does it work for everybody else?
Are we ready to vote? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No,
Was that,
and my rationale beyond the holidays is, if you need an executive session because something serious happens, what you're gonna end up doing is having to have a special meeting. When you're only 2 weeks apart, you usually can make it, but I don't mind losing on the motion, I just wanna be recorded as a no.
okay. It would still be 2 weeks apart. It would be on the 2nd and 4th instead of the 1st and 3rd. But what I have are 7 for, and 1 against. Okay, so our meetings are now on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday at 6 PM. The next item is the discussion and possible adoption of the Vermont School Board Association Code of Ethics. We don't necessarily have to take action on that, but typically we have a discussion about it. People have an opportunity to read it. And does anybody have a problem agreeing to the Code of Ethics as a board?
Julie, can I go back? I thought I heard you say the vote 7, 4, and 1 against. Is that didn't make sense to me?
There's 8 people.
Pardon?
Oh, yeah.
7 for it.
7 for it and
Oh.
1 against.
It did sound like 6.
Seven, and then 4, and then 1, we have this 12-member board. My math isn't what it did.
Okay.
Good to clarify.
Just didn't add up to me. I was like, what?
Does anyone want to make a motion saying that the board adopts the Vermont School Board Association Code of Ethics?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
First by Don, second by Rennick. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
Dawn's on you.
Don, what was your vote for the Code of Ethics?
I made the motion, so I'd say yes.
Okay, I just was checking. My
No,
head
no,
was
thank you.
turned. All right, next would be our annual motions that are attached. The first is a motion to authorize the MVSD administration to seek grants, adopt plans, administer programs in compliance with all laws, assurances, requirements, policies, and regulations, establish written agreements, and act as a representative of the school district for all federal and state funds and collaborative agreements included but not limited to, and then there's a list of the majority of state grants that we apply for. Do I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Devin is the first,
I'll second it.
Mr. Jen is the second. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. 8-0. Second is to authorize the board chair, vice chair, if the chair is not available, to sign professional staff contracts on behalf of the board after the recommendation of hire by the superintendent using our hiring process. Do I have a motion to that effect?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Megan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Joanne seconds. Any discussion?
What was the motion again?
It's authorizing the board chair or vice chair, if unavailable, to sign future contracts. If there's no more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 8-0.
Kira, I was a yes.
Okay, I got it.
The third is to authorize the board chair, vice chair, if the chair is not available, to sign federal grants and other contracts as needed.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Toby, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Megan. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 8-0. All right, now the next is to appoint the Missisquoi Valley School District voting delegate for statewide health insurance. That's an option so that the district has a delegate to vote. The state negotiates health insurance for teachers, for all school employees. So I'm not
I
sure.
nominate Julie Reichenbaugh.
It's not a proxy, it's a
I
school.
nominate Julie Reichenbaugh.
Well, it's not a proxy, Don, this is
What's
the,
that?
has to be a school board member for this. I think we usually
I
nominate
would
you.
nominate Rennick then.
And I nominate Don Collins.
So we have a nomination to appoint Rennick and a nomination to appoint Don Collins for the voting delegate for statewide health insurance.
Can you elaborate with
I can't really because I think Don was initially, when he was nominating me, we were talking about the VHI and VisBit
I was
proxy.
thinking VI, Julie.
Yeah.
You guys do that for us.
I do. We do that usually in like September or so. This is an opportunity to vote when the state negotiates health insurance. And the Vermont School Board Association arranges that, and we just have to let them know who our delegate is, if we want to vote in that. So we have a nomination for Rennick and a nomination for Don. Are you both willing to accept the nomination if you're elected?
No, I don't want to do it because I'm not sure if I'll be going too fairly to VSBA. So I
Okay.
think the new officers really need to get into this important stuff.
So you, okay. So, Don having withdrawn, all in favor to appoint Rennick as the voting delegate for statewide health insurance, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, congratulations.
I think so, yeah.
Motion carries. And the last of our annual motions is the Missisquoi Valley School District designates the St. Albans Messenger to be their official newspaper. Ads, notices, minutes, and agendas will also be posted on the MVSD website. Can I have a motion supporting that?
Can they be nicer to us?
The new reporter is nicer.
Okay.
We often discuss another newspaper, but they only come out once a
Yeah.
week, so it's kind of hard.
Just seems like, Maple Run is all over the Messenger, and then, MVSD is just,
Once in a while.
guess there's no choice.
So, I got a question.
Well, first we have to make sure we have a motion and
Oh,
a
yeah,
second
okay.
on this.
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Rank is the first, is there a second?
I'll second.
Devin seconds the motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of designating the
I think we
messenger?
had a comment. Yeah.
So, my only thing is, when you used to make it, the messenger came out 6 days a week, and now they're down to
Yeah.
2 or 3. Can it be more than one?
We have to designate, the way things are written now, we have to designate a newspaper. Eventually, we may not have a newspaper to designate, you're not wrong there. But we do, because they come out twice a week, we are able to manage our notices and things. It's a very good question.
Are there other options?
There are no dailies. The Courier,
Right.
is once a week. Not everybody in our region takes the Courier, so.
And the other issue with the Courier is that because it comes out just once a week, if you wanna warn something
Right.
in there, you have to get it in there by Monday night, and sometimes you don't always know, it's a real disadvantage.
At least with the Messenger, because they do Tuesday, Friday, we can get things in for Fridays.
They do daily online, they do the other days are online.
Right.
Right.
The response times vary significantly also. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor of designating the messenger, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Dawn, you're an aye. And Peter, you're a yes, okay. So motion carries 7-0.
Still not sure which way Don voted.
I'm not either.
Do we want a roll call, Dawn?
Just think we.
I put my hand up, but voice is better, yes. I'm in favor. I know the issue with the courier, I like the courier, but it doesn't work, so.
Right, are people comfortable with me calling that 7-1 against? Okay, all right, so that covers our annual motions. The next would be correspondence, visitors, and public comments. Joe?
Julie?
Yes, Dawn?
Or Jen? I don't know, Julie or Jen, who should I talk to?
I think Jen's up now.
Yes, Don?
I just wanted to go back to this health insurance thing for you and for Rennie. This may be, the health insurance is one of the most important things probably in the state when it comes to our budget. So it's important that we have a voice there. I don't know how powerful it is, but I just think that it's not just one of those things, well, we'll do it. If you ask Laura, I think health insurance has driven some of the biggest budget increases we've had during her tenure at business manager. So I would ask both of you, as a board chair and vice chair, to become familiar with that and attend, I think it's only one meeting, but there may be more. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don. Okay, so number 5, correspondence, visitors, and public comments.
No?
Is there any?
Ty is behind.
Ty?
I'll get up here so you don't have to.
Thank you.
So, first comment I have is, I'm not quite sure who the administrator of the school district social media pages are. I'm assuming there's multiple. I know we have a communications director now, but we didn't do a very good job, or the school district didn't do a very good job informing voters what the results of town meeting day were for the district. There was one small post about, thank you for your support, but that's all I got. I had to wait till Messenger covered it and Wendy put it out at the Highgate Select Board meeting what the results were. For a $44 million budget, we should do a better job getting that out there. I know where there was no contested races, but there could have been a write-in that would have surprised us, but that would have been nice to know too for.
We did have a
Did. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
See, and I didn't know. And I'm active in this, and I didn't know that, so that's the first topic.
Yeah, that was me, I'm the one who's up at 10:45 putting it on Facebook, so
Okay.
next year I will be happy to put
But are you
more
the only,
specific.
or is that communication director, or would that be?
Not at
following-
11:15 at
No,
night.
no, but it's been
But-
3 weeks and there's still not, or 2 weeks since voting day, and
Well, I report it to the state, I report it to the newspapers, and then they report it out. But if the community would like me to have more detailed results on Facebook, I can, that's easily
Okay.
done. Yeah.
Is that our responsibility, or is that the town clerk's responsibility?
We report our results.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's because it's the different towns, right? Because they all have their individual, but then we all collectively have to get ours for like the vote and stuff before.
We run
can
our own
report.
election.
We have our own clerk.
Got it.
Nola Gilbert is our clerk.
and by no means, Julie, am I asking you to put out a detailed thing at 11 o'clock or midnight, the night of voting day, but.
No, I mean, but I do to the press.
Right.
I have it all set and I put the numbers in. So thanks for that feedback.
I do, Ty, I'm looking at the MVSD district site, I don't know if you're on Facebook, social media, and it's posted March 7th. What day was it? Tell me.
It was March
Yeah.
7th.
March 7th.
Thank you for the Missisquoi Valley School District community for support of our FY24 budget.
Correct. But,
It's more.
He wanted the detailed results.
Oh,
on
like,
Facebook.
okay, numbers.
like Megan was a
Yeah.
writer.
Okay.
Do we put it on our MVSD website?
It was hard for me to find out too, so.
Is that something
The
that
minutes could be posted from the meeting, technically the vote counts go in the minutes, that would be.
And for the facility members, it's just gonna sound like a broken record, but, do we have a purchasing policy that is above and beyond what the state and feds require? And more so, is there a dollar value that requires the superintendent or board's approval before we spend? It's piddly, but I've seen some wasteful spending, and it's just my opinion of wasteful spending recently, and facility board members have heard this already, of what my thoughts are on it. Not to the micromanaging level of a WB Mason order, but there must be a dollar value that the school board would want, or want the superintendent sign off on, or their own sign off on before we spend that kind of money. You don't have to answer by any means tonight, but just a thought on that. It's probably dictated at the state level too.
Questions on that question?
And then,
We have a lot of internal procedures to answer your question about purchasing and purchase orders and approvals.
yeah, I scrolled through real quick,
Yeah.
but without spending hours and hours reading the policies and procedures, I didn't find it.
I would just encourage that, we have quite a few meetings just dedicated to the budget and those breakdowns. And in there is a lot of that information of where the money's going and how it's approved and what it's used for, like in detail.
Okay,
So, and that's something we can share.
thank you. And then the last one, and it's long, and I'm gonna try to modify it, but, since the last meeting that I attended and talked about needing to figure out why we're losing enrollments to other schools and stuff, I've talked to a lot of people. I've talked to former staff, I've talked to current school board members, I've talked to former school board members, I've talked to administrators, I've talked to parents, and students that have changed. And it just keeps coming back down to, it's a problem we know we exist, we're trying to make it better, but it's not gonna fix overnight, but nobody really knows what the fix is. And I don't know if we're at the point where the school district needs to hire somebody for assessment of what we're doing wrong and have it be a direct report to the school board, so that way you're hearing it straight from the horse's mouth of what is going on. But we're having issues. There's a lot of issues, and every person I talk to, I hear more issues, behavioral issues, leadership issues.
Can I just ask a quick clarifying question? Are you referring to the elementary schools, MVU, or all of the above?
All the above.
Okay.
What I'm hearing losing is at the high school level, but I don't have kids in the elementary school levels anymore to know. An elementary school kid doesn't really, in my opinion, say, I want to leave this school. The parents may say, I want to move out of town so my kids don't go to this school.
Right.
But high school level, it's happening. It happened in my household for multiple reasons that I won't talk to on camera, but I'm more than happy to talk to any school board member that would like to hear my story. And it's nobody's fault, all one person's fault. That's all I had, it's just, we need to move. I'm not complaining because I think it's something bad, I'm complaining to see if we can do better for all the district. And that's all I got tonight.
I'd love to follow up on that because that is an issue that is important to me as well. I too know a lot of families that have chosen to pull their kids out of MVU, to either homeschool or go to another school. I have a child entering MVU next year, so it's important to me. I don't know what the next step would be or should be, but I would ask the board as a whole that this is something we not say, okay, thanks for your feedback and just move on. I think it is important, and I think it is gonna become an issue, a larger issue, as we just keep, if nothing changes, if the status quo stays the same. So just wanted to say that, thank you for sharing that and bringing it up, because it is important.
Thank you, Megan.
Ty, I just wanna say that, so last time you did address the board about it, you did make a comment about, is anybody going to our schools and seeing this? So yes, I did take time off, and met with Dan. He brought me around the school, and I spent quite a bit of time there and talking to teachers and just listening to what they had to say. So I just wanna let you know I did take my time to do that, and I'd like to hear what you have to say, I'd like your story.
Sounds good. And I thank you that it's not falling on deaf ears.
Thank you, Ty. Do we have any other public comments?
I would just point out that you have linked some correspondence that was received from the complainant from the NAACP about the mascot. They have not responded to any request from Devon for a hearing, and their general statement, I believe, went out to all schools where they had lodged a complaint.
Oh, okay.
That's
That's what I pulled this morning.
The one, it was updated, I thought it was yesterday.
I pulled it this morning at 6.
Today? But the statement, the updated
I've got it here.
Okay.
Well, I can look at it here, but I got the complaint open because I didn't see it.
So that statement just was complaining that they are unhappy with the process that the state has in place. And I wanted to make sure that you were able to see it, and the community is able to see it on the website, on the linked agenda.
And I think you just said this, but they haven't actually requested any meeting or anything like that, correct?
And that is the process that's laid out in the state law.
Right.
So they have to make a formal complaint to us.
They did, but then there's a process around a hearing to hear both sides. And then the board would make a determination, and if somebody didn't like that determination, they would then appeal and do the same thing at the state level.
Okay, so that hasn't happened as of yet.
It has not.
So until then, we just let it rest.
That's right.
Jen, and this is for Julie too, can I just ask that if we get that formal request, that all board members are let known of that as soon as you find out, and I'm assuming as soon as you find out it's public knowledge?
Yeah, Devin, when did you?
Yeah, well, so the response that they sent out indicates that they do not intend to request that of any of the boards that they had mentioned at them, that they intend to go address this at the state level.
Yeah, that's interesting, because they don't, right. So, this is a textbook, we want, they're going to where they can be most effective because of our local control. This is very interesting. They don't dare come here, I would think. I've heard only nothing from the local recognized, state recognized tribe. in support of our mascot. So, yeah, I think we have to keep an eye on this, because at the state level, it's an end around. They're trying to go right around the local boards. And I think it would be interesting how the VSBA would serve us on this as well. So I think we just need to watch this closely, and I think we need to communicate with our local tribe members especially, because I see this as a less than positive development if they're just trying to go around the local control of our, and our local policy. And I fear, because funny things happen at the state level. So,
Yeah, I
it's
agree.
gonna be interesting.
We need to watch it. I would hate to think that anyone could just write a letter complaining about a thing and then expect it to be changed without actually going before the governing body and having the conversation and deliberative discussion, et cetera.
Do we know if any of our local reps are on the education committees?
No. I mean, yes,
No, they are not, or
No,
no?
they are not.
Okay.
Well, in St. Albans. Casey Chief is on education.
Julie, has any other superintendents reached out to you about this to discuss, or?
We discussed it generally, but the consensus was, the other schools that were mentioned also heard nothing.
So this is a statement, and it looks like it's signed by all of these people, or endorsing the statement, including many members of the VSBA, which I think is concerning for me.
I don't know that that's,
I see Rep. Edie Granning, and I think she's very involved in the VSBA. Yeah. Am I reading that right, that statement? Is that, all those people are endorsing that statement?
That's how I read it as well.
yeah,
Okay, interesting.
That's fine.
Jen, if it's, would you be amenable to changing the order of the agenda a little bit to let the students present now, since we've kept them waiting for
Oh, gosh, yes, sorry.
Well,
a little bit of time? Are they ready, Julie?
well, we could maybe do the principal's reports first, and
Oh.
maybe do that first. And then I can look at them. Can I do the principal's reports?
what we have left is approval of the minutes
Okay.
and the administrative reports. We can approve the minutes afterwards.
Okay. All right, so, I'm very nervous and I'm very sorry. So item number 6 will be the approval of the minutes, and we usually do them separately.
I'll make a motion, if you'll entertain it, Jen, to approve the minutes for February 7th as presented.
Thank you. Anybody want a second?
I'll second.
Everybody in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Right.
All right, and would anybody like?
Yeah, Jen, if you'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for February 21st as presented, I will make that motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Everybody in favor?
Aye.
I just like it noted, I'm abstaining from the approval of the meeting.
Okay, so 701.
Don?
I'm a yes on all the minutes.
Thank you.
And Jen, if you'll entertain a motion for the last one, I'll make it to approve the minutes for February 28th.
I'll second.
Everybody in favor? Say aye.
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 701.
So then we'll do the administrative reports and then the presentation. That's how we're changing it, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Julie, do you want to give your district newsletter? presentation?
If there are any questions, you,
I did read it. Did everybody get a chance to read Julie's report in the drive?
usually this is the point where we would just ask questions if anyone has them. Any questions for any of the other administrative reports?
MVU, Highgate, Franklin, Swanton, do we have any questions for the reports?
Do you have any more feedback on the STEM fair and the history night at NVU?
Yeah, the STEM fair is actually, the 3 winners are going to be going to Norwich this weekend. And they are actually all going to present at the next MVU board meeting in May. And the history night winners are actually going to be announced in the next board report. We just put that in, Chrissy just put that in the other day, but we've got pictures of the winners and what the projects were about.
Was it well attended, or was it just wanted to get a feel for what it was like?
Peter, it was well attended. I haven't been for a long time, so I don't know if I have much to compare it to. But a lot of parents, and there were a few community members that came in. Dave Szabo and Tom Sumner said that it seemed like there were fewer families than sometimes in the past.
Can I make a request, please? I was thinking about it when I was reading everything this morning, and we haven't, I liked it when we received from the principals a heads up, hey, this is happening if you'd like to attend. So I felt like I could have probably attended one of these because I didn't know about them. So I was just wondering if we could, the board members could get like an advance notice of the events if we wanted to attend.
On the last thing that we always put in ours is an upcoming events, which is usually a month, almost a month and a half, even sometimes 2 months in advance of everything that's coming up and the times and the locations.
Just little gentle reminder emails would be great, I think.
Jen, I have a comment when you're taking comments or questions on the reports.
Yep. Go ahead, Don.
Yes, I want to commend Dan or whoever made it possible, but I read the article with great interest on the Governor's Institutes. I've been involved with them for probably over 30 years, and it's a wonderful opportunity, and I was pleased to see how you handle it at MVU. Good job.
Thank you.
So Yeshua had his hand up for a second.
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. That's why I took it off. I was trying to do something different, so sorry about that.
All right, if nothing else, then we're gonna go forward with the presentation.
I need to thank the principals for being here because
Thank
they.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Guys, want to have some seats for you right over here, and I've got some notes here from my after. I know those cookies look good, don't they? We'll get them after. Great, so welcome everybody, and board members, welcome back to Franklin. We're so glad to have you here again. And we have a STEM presentation for tonight, and we wanted to start it off with a video that some of you may have already seen that JR had done, but we thought it'd be a nice introduction to what's going to be presented tonight. And then these guys will introduce themselves and these wonderful students that are here tonight with them. So first we'll see the video. And I'll get out of everybody's way.
Missisquoi Valley School District has partnered with the Echo Center to re-engage students and reinvigorate teachers. After receiving a grant to fund the partnership for 3 years, MVSD teachers attended professional development courses at the Echo to get an understanding of how their hands-on projects can be utilized in the classroom. Now, experts from the Echo are coming to our schools to help the teachers guide our students through these exciting practical activities that teach foundational science concepts intuitively through experimentation. On top of that, we're looking forward to the return of EchoFest. The Echo team will set up a series of stations at each elementary school, giving every one of our students the chance to learn from the entertaining, interactive challenges. While this is only part of the programs and strategies we're implementing to improve academic outcomes for our students, we are proud to share how successful this partnership has already proven to be. To learn more about this and other programs MVSD is working on, visit mvsdschools.org.
All right.
Missisquoi Valley School District has partnered with the ECHO.
It likes to play. Well, my name's Ashley Batchelder. I teach kindergarten here at Franklin. I brought a couple of friends here with me today.
Global thinking. Lucian.
And I'm Laura Sullivan. I teach 3rd grade here, and I also brought some friends with me.
Kylie Rich. And Dalton Richard.
And we're just so excited to be able to talk to you a little bit about the work that we've been able to do with ECHO this year and the project that has ensued because of it. So Laura and I, along with our 2nd grade teacher, Carrie Toof, have been a part of an institute with ECHO that is completely grant funded, which means everything has been free to us, and we have gathered so much information and knowledge. The institute has had 4 different in-person workshop days. We've had a couple of virtual workshop days. We've been really lucky to have ECHO come 2 different times and work in all of our classrooms to do engineering design challenges with our students. We also were able to have 2 virtual times with ECHO to come. They came virtually one time and did a challenge with our students, and then another time we had them up on the screen, and kindergarten got to meet the baby turtles that are part of the exhibit at ECHO.
We met the big fish of Lake Champlain.
Yes, and 2nd grade met some of the animals that are there as well. And that's getting us ready for next month, when we're all going to be able to go on a free field trip to ECHO to view all of the exhibits and be a part of the hands-on work there. ECHO also is going to be coming next month to do a STEM festival with us. And we've just had access to a number of wonderful resources and gotten some other great perks through our institute.
So through the Institute, we needed to come up with a project, and like Ashley mentioned, there have been a lot of really wonderful resources, and some of the resources that they shared with us really just highlighted the benefits of kids being able to engage more with STEM, the Engineering Design Challenge, and tinkering. And some of the benefits that we've learned about from just kids engaging with those types of activities are an increase in problem-solving skills, independence, social skills, growth mindset and perseverance, fine motor skills, and we've just seen those benefits in those areas and so many others. And so we thought, well, we really have to make sure that we're able to increase STEM engagement in our classrooms. So we have a 2-part project with 2 goals. The first being that we, as the teachers, will create and implement STEM challenges that kids can engage in regularly. Most of the time it's weekly, but sometimes depending on holidays, and if kids are really enjoying a challenge, it might last longer. And then the second goal, of course, is for students to develop and improve their skills, especially in perseverance and teamwork, but again, the SEL skills across the board have been pretty immeasurable.
So our first goal being a STEM challenge, you might be wondering, what is a STEM challenge? A STEM challenge is a task for students where they are going to be engaged in either the engineering design process or problem-solving skills in order to create a task to solve a problem. So they'll be presented with a problem or a goal to achieve, and they've got to find a way to solve that problem. A lot of times it's creating a tool or something else to go along with that. The challenges that we have set up, sometimes they're set up in ways for kids to work individually, sometimes they work with partners or even small groups. We often have constraints for students. Sometimes that might include time. They might have only a certain amount of time to complete a task. It might include materials where they're only supposed to use a certain amount of materials, or in some cases, like the project the kids are working on this week in kindergarten, they have to use at least 3 materials in order to complete their task. Sometimes we might put constraints on the size that we want it to be. Your tower must become at least 6 inches tall and stand on its own. Or sometimes we have constraints on the process that they use. Students have a lot of choice around when and if they engage in these challenges. Many of the challenges that we have put forth have been optional for the students, and we have been so excited to see how engaged students have been and excited to do it. In fact, some of the challenges that we have put out, kids have asked, can I skip snacks so that I can work on my engineering? Or they'll use their inside recess time to work on their engineering task, which is so awesome. They also have a lot of choices around how they're going to go about engaging with that challenge. And they've also had some opportunities to share their work with other classes. Kindergarten at one point created shelters to hide their turkeys for Thanksgiving so that they wouldn't get eaten. And we invited third and fourth graders to come and hunt for their turkeys to see if they could find them. So we've had a lot of fun with some cross-grade work as well.
So the second part of our project is goal number 2, and that's all around the SEL skills. So what SEL skills will be addressed through STEM challenges? When we first started thinking about this, we came up with this huge long list. There were probably 10 or 15 different SEL focus areas, and then we really thought about it and realized that we can boil all of those down to perseverance and teamwork. And then focus on some specific skills. And again, that list of skills went on and on and on, and we thought, okay, we can narrow this down. And it's really overcoming stuck points and growth mindset under perseverance, and then for teamwork, communication and compromise. We realized were the biggest areas that we wanted our students to grow in. So we developed some I can statements to help kids be able to engage in conversations about STEM and the growth that they're making and feel really empowered to talk about the work. And in addition to all of that, we've also made some literacy connections and selected some picture books to read with kids that tie into these SEL skills. And sometimes we will kick off a STEM challenge using those books to let kids know we want to think about the characters that were in this book as you're building this week, or maybe at the end of the week as a skill has come up, we might, in our reflection period, read a book together and talk about how the characters are similar to problems we encountered during our challenge. The one other thing I was going to say is that sometimes the SEL skills will come up organically as we're working, and sometimes there'll be a really specific focus as we start the week with our challenge.
So we thought we would take the opportunity to just take you through what an engineering design process looks like, and then our students have some specific challenges that they want to tell you about.
So the define part of the engineering design process, at least for these age groups, is really the teacher's job. So the teacher will think about maybe a theme around the season or holidays that are nearby, but especially science concepts that we want kids to focus on, and design an engineering task that centers around that. So some of the science concepts that we have focused on have been forces in motion. We've thought about animals and organisms, their habitats. We've made structures. We've thought about weather and climate, and the list goes on and on. But the student-facing side of it is that we normally type up some sort of sheet that kids can access on their own, and on that sheet it'll have the question or problem that students are solving. It'll have the list of materials that they're allowed to use, and then constraints that kids will have around time, materials, partnerships, and all of that. And then students are ready to make a plan, and Miss Kylie will let you know what that will look like.
First you will need to think. You could think it, you could draw it, or you could write it out, you would want to make 2 or 3 plans, because if one doesn't work, then you have 2 extra.
Awesome. All right, can you go back?
Sorry. And once you're done your plan, Clover, what's the next step?
You make the thing that you're supposed to, and if it doesn't work, try again.
And after you've built it, what do we do next?
You test it, and when you're building it, you can test throughout building, and at the end of the week, we test all together as a group to see if it works how we wanted it to.
And once we're done testing, we're going to improve it. Jarrett, what does that look like? Stand right up so I can hear you.
Make it better.
And how are you going to make it better? What are some things you can do?
You could take your thing apart and make it better, or you could take some more tools and put it together with the other tools.
Kylie, why don't you stand on up? Kylie, what challenge do you want to talk to the board about tonight?
The tree challenge, because you only could use pipe cleaners and you had to make it into a tree.
And what SEL skill do you feel like you used most in the tree challenge?
Perseverance. Because when you had to make it into a circle of a tree and it kept making corners.
So what did you do to overcome that? You really wanted your tree to be circular and it kept making corners and being kind of square or rectangular. What did you do?
I used my time like breakfast and work time.
Oh, sorry, I had one more question for you. Sorry, hon. Are there any other times of day that you feel like you use our STEM skills?
Yes, and writing, because you have to still plan it. You can think it, you can write it, or draw it.
Thank you. And Dalton, what challenge did you want to talk about?
The ping pong ball picker-upper. And in that challenge, we have to build a tool that would pick up a ping pong ball, and however many centimeters away you got it from was how many points you got. And the materials costed points, so you have to use your materials wisely.
So what SEL skill do you feel like you used to complete that challenge?
Teamwork. Because, like, putting pieces together or taping stuff, you could, like, I could hold the paper and you could tape it.
And are there other times of day that you use our STEM skills?
Probably math, because, like, on questions, if I get stuck, I can ask my table partner or someone around me, and we can work out the problem.
Awesome. Thank you, Dalton.
All right, Clover is going to talk to us a little bit about the tree challenge that Kylie also mentioned, so she won't have to explain that to you, but Clover, why don't you tell everybody something during the tree challenge that was hard for you?
Working with partners.
What was hard about working with partners? Look at all the grown-ups agree, working with partners is really hard. What was hard about working with a partner for you?
You both might have an idea, and you both want to try it. So my strategy is you let someone else go first, and then if theirs doesn't work, you try yours.
And did you use that in some other STEM challenges?
Yeah.
Yeah, and how did that go?
It made me succeed a little bit more.
Thank you, Clover. All right, Jarrett, you have a different challenge to tell everybody about. What's your challenge that you want to tell them
The
about?
turtle zipline challenge.
Can you tell everybody a little bit about the turtle zipline challenge?
You have to get the turtle across the zip line without it falling off the zip.
Yeah, on a cart that you had to build, right? So what was something that was hard for you during that challenge?
Working with partners.
Working with partners. And what was hard about working with partners for you, Jarrett?
Sometimes you might want to do your idea, but you kind of have to let them go before you just shout yours out.
Which is hard, isn't it? And was there anything else that was a challenge during this one for you? What was it? Did it work for you the first time? Did your first try work? No. So what did you have to do?
So I had to do it.
A lot of different tries. Yes, lots of different tries. Jarrett, did that help you with any other STEM challenges? Awesome. And we just wanted to finish, usually when we're done with STEM challenges with students, the reflection piece has been really important and really eye-opening for us. So we're going to do a little bit of reflection here with you tonight. My first question for all of us here to reflect on is, what do you enjoy the most about STEM challenges? Dalton, go ahead.
Like building it, you can at the end testing it to see how it works and what it will do.
How about you, Kylie?
What was your question again?
What do you enjoy the most about STEM challenges?
Teamwork, because if you need help, you have your friend to help you.
Miss Sullivan.
My favorite thing about the STEM challenges has really been how independent the students have been able to be with it, especially at the third grade level. Like I said, they have that sheet with the directions and everything they need to know. And I'll put it out on Mondays, and even before we talk about it, kids just dive right in. And as they're building, the conversations that they have as they're working through problems and challenges that they're having, asking each other to help them build and help attach things and asking for ideas has been really amazing. I've been really impressed with what they've been able to do with so little support from me.
My favorite part of the STEM challenges has been watching students become comfortable with failing and then being able to grow from that failure. Our friends from ECHO taught us the failure dance, because when we fail we get excited because it means we can try again and learn something new. And watching kids be able to recognize that failure isn't a bad thing, but it's a chance to grow and to move on has been very exciting. Clover, what's been your most exciting part about STEM challenges?
Trying it even if you don't succeed.
Awesome. And how about you, Jarrett?
Working with partners, because even though you might not succeed, you could still be happy for someone and you.
Awesome. I have one more quick question. When you finish a challenge, Dalton, how do you feel?
Proud, if it works, and if it doesn't work, I just try to improve it.
Great. Kylie, how do you feel when you finish your challenges?
Happy because you tried your best and you did your best.
Awesome. Clover, how do you feel when you finish a challenge?
Happy and fun.
Awesome. How about you, Jarrett? Great. Great. That's our presentation. I don't know if you have questions for us.
Can we clap?
And I think have cookies too. Is that okay, cookies, folks?
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Yes, and I just want to mention too, it's parent conferences this week too, so Ashley and Laura came tonight, and they've got parent conferences, and they're preparing report cards and getting ready for parent conferences. And if you just want to go in and see something inspiring, to go in their rooms when the kids are working on one of these challenges, I am just amazed at the ideas that they come up with. I went into kindergarten when they were working on the zip line. I was like, oh my God. The way they're so creative. So thank you all, and we 15 minutes, guys. Yes.
Yeah. You all deserve cookies.
Thank you.
Sure. It's your pen. Here, I'll take it. No, go ahead, grab what you want. I promise I don't have sweets. So guys, I'm not gonna eat them all.
Yeah, do you remember? You just look.
I love the Echo Center, by the way. Have you guys ever been? Has anybody not been to the Echo Center?
No, it's wonderful. They do go to all of our schools, and in fact, I mean, it's wonderful. I always try to go to one of the schools when they're having the day, you watch the kindergartners, you watch the sixth graders. They're both enjoying it.
I'm like, that's a leader right there.
There are definitely leadership skills that are developed.
Do we want to continue with 10 BC and then go back to our regular 8, or does, how do you propose that we do that, Julie?
I would recommend we go back to 8 because some of these are quick. I also,
Okay.
Laura's sounding not
Not
well,
well,
and I'd
yep.
love for her to be able to leave after her part of the agenda.
Just go back and make it there, so we can pass out, I'm not sure what's going on.
Okay.
Rennick and Peter, I think, will be right back.
Okay.
So she just had to step out.
Excuse me, I need to get a drink of water.
Julie,
Yes.
yeah. Does NOLA have an MVSD email?
She does.
So, to kind of address Ty's issue, I think we should I can talk to Nola. It would be helpful if Nola, she's the one with the results. She's our clerk, right? No one has the results before she does, correct?
She and Laura go at the same time, and they send the results, when the tape comes through the machine, they text the results to me, and then I send them to the press. And then Nola is supposed to prepare a report
Yeah.
that comes.
I mean, that's always an avenue for us. I think I would like it from Nola personally, because that's her position, but, anyway.
Okay, so now number 8, new business, information and action. The teacher request for leave of absence is gonna require action. Did everybody get an opportunity to read the leave of absence request?
So, we would just look for a motion. We have a teacher looking for a leave of absence next year that would allow her to be issued a contract the following year. I don't know if there are any questions.
Is this something we normally do?
Yes, the board, a long leave of absence is only, requires board action.
Okay, no,
Oh,
sorry,
it-
have other teachers?
Oh, absolutely.
asked for
This is a
It
section in
is.
our master agreement also.
How long are they allowed to take leave?
It's a 1-year
It's
leave.
1 year, she said.
1 year? Is it conditional on anything or just you guys say?
It's something covered in the contract that they can request. In this case, it's because the individual will be traveling with her husband for, I believe it's for work, although that wasn't necessarily represented in the letter.
Do you support that recommendation, or are you?
We do,
you're-
the principal and HR director and superintendent do approve it.
So Janet, if you'll entertain a motion, I will make the motion to approve the teacher request for leave of absence.
Yes.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Don. All in favor, say aye.
Can I have
Oh,
more discussion?
sorry, discuss.
You say we've done this in the past. What is the criteria, I guess, like?
Let Bonnie answer that. Somebody's knocking, and I want to make sure we don't have someone locked outside. Excuse me.
When Teresa doesn't come back in, she could be outside.
Oh,
She
no.
is.
Bonnie, we've done it in the past, I know we've done it in the past for illnesses.
Yeah,
And-
primarily when it's come up with illnesses, it's because it's mid-year. She's being proactive and requesting it for next year, because her spouse has to do a stint for work out, possibly out of the country, to go with them for a year, but the intent is that she wants to be offered a contract next year. She wants to be able to
In the fall,
return
yeah.
to,
So
right,
will
and
it be the same position, so will we have to hire somebody with the intent that they're only gonna be here for a year?
Not necessarily in this case, but because of class sizes, et cetera, but they would be issued a contract. And if that were to take place, we would issue a 1-year only contract.
yeah, we have done that in the past where we hire a 1-year only, a teacher gets a contract for 1 year only, and then they fill that position, and then our existing teacher gets the contract for the next year. And that teacher has signed a 1-year only, and so they are not issued a contract the following year.
Well, you're
We don't
saying-
have to do that in this case.
How come?
It's gonna bring us, oh no, maybe not our next one. We have an overage of staff in Highgate, for this year, so, we will be reassigning a couple of teachers to Swanton, who's already had some resignations. So this would allow one of the teachers to remain in Highgate and not be reassigned.
Are there any requirements? Is there a chance that at the end of this leave, she could back out and we would be left without a teacher?
Well, absolutely. I mean, every year a teacher is issued a contract, they have a
Right.
decision to sign or not sign.
Okay.
It would just guarantee that we would issue her a contract. She's a valued teacher in the district, and we like to retain them.
No
Yeah.
additional concerns about
No. And I would also like to point out that we do not maintain benefits or anything on them. If they wish to maintain benefits, then they'd have to pay them out of their own pocket.
Okay.
So,
It's just a guaranteed issuance of a contract next year.
Jen, I'd like to speak on this.
Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, you know, as a board, we've spent a lot of time in the last 2 years, maybe longer, talking about trying to retain quality teachers. This is one of those non-monetary decisions that we make that sends a good message to the staff, that you are a good teacher and we want you back. I just think that's very important. And the second part of this is, if we should get a person on a 1-year contract, I'm not quite sure, following Bonnie, we're going to, but if we do, that gives the administration an opportunity to see someone perform, and should a vacancy come up, it's a more known quantity. So I think it's a win-win.
Yes, that's a good point. I mean, we have talked about the possibility of a transfer to another, but we generally have some attrition in Highgate and in Swanton, so we expect that that will occur. But this leave of absence, the principal supports and we support.
Anybody else, Renee, were you gonna say something?
No, I agree, I think it makes sense.
Joanne?
Okay.
So now we can vote. Sorry about that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Don said aye. All those opposed? Motion carried 8-0. Contracts for teachers holding provisional license.
So every year, if a provisional license, for those who don't know, is for someone who does not have an endorsement or a license in their content area yet. Often they are finishing a master's program or not quite. Maybe their license is an elementary teacher, but they're doing a special ed role or a different kind of role. And we have language in our master agreement that says you have to have your license in hand by March 15th, or you will not be issued a contract. So Bonnie and I have been working closely with administrators and with the teachers, Bonnie in particular, on them making sure that they get everything in. And we do have a number of teachers that won't be receiving a contract. They may be getting a letter of intent, or they may not be getting a contract because they haven't really done much toward getting their license. But there are some who do not have their license as of yet, but they are well along in the process. And the board does have the option to allow us to offer a contract to those individuals. So I want to let Bonnie maybe speak a little more to that.
Yeah, so a little bit about the process of this. So letters go out to these teachers holding provisional licenses that are set to expire June 30th of this year, that alerting them that their provisional is set to expire and that they need to provide me a license. I've had, most of them had reached back out to me and either told me that about their plan. A few of them, they're not graduating from their program until May. So they can't submit to the AOE until they have that information in hand. A few of them reached out and said, I've done nothing. And so we have 3 in each bucket. The 3 in the bucket that says, I've done nothing, or who have made steps but not the progress that we feel is sufficient, that Julie and I have looked through and talked to the administrators, and that we feel is sufficient to believe that they will obtain their license in time. We do not support issuing them a contract. But we have 3 teachers who have submitted plans, who have been incredibly forthcoming, who have been worried to death about this, emailing me once a week, if not more, about, I have this, what about this, you know. And so we would like to issue them a contract, for the board's discretion, that states on the bottom, contingent upon receipt of your AOE license. And part of the reason that I support this is because when we hire new teachers, who do not yet have a license, or who sometimes have not yet even graduated, we issue them a contract and we put that clause on the bottom that says contingent on receipt of your licensure. I feel that we should support the teachers that have been in our buildings for 1 to 2 years by issuing them a contract. I think it's part of our efforts of retention, because if we do not issue them a contract, if they went to another school right now with that plan for their license, they would issue them a contract. And the administrators strongly support not losing these teachers, because I don't have the ability, without your discretion, to issue them a contract.
So what would happen to the 3 teachers who haven't met that criteria?
They will not be issued a contract.
So does that mean they're getting?
They're getting a letter
retained?
saying that they will not be receiving a contract this year,
If they get a contract, they're welcome to apply for their jobs when they're posted,
when they get a license, yes.
when they get a license.
Their jobs become posted, and they are welcome to reapply for those jobs. But at this point, they can't work in their content areas without a license. And there's not another step. Once their provisional expires, they don't have a license.
Is there a plan with them beyond that, given the retention issues for?
They've had 3, in most in the cases of the individuals not getting a contract, they've had 3 years.
Two of them I had to apply for a 3rd year license for them last year. One of them I had to do a hearing with the AOE and everything on. We've given them ample opportunity to obtain a license, and they failed to do that.
So they're in the position right now without a license?
3 of them are gonna not receive a contract from us because
They have a provisional license
Right.
currently.
that
Those
does
what-
not expire until June 30th, 2023.
When you apply for a provisional, you have 2 years to make a plan to get your license. And then in some cases, you can have an extension of a 3rd year. COVID made it pretty easy for that extension to happen.
So all 6 of these that you're discussing,
Mhm.
they need, their provisionals are done, they need to
Yes.
get their license.
Absolutely. So 3 of them are clearly prepared to have them by June 30 or shortly thereafter. And then the other 3, I have no confidence that they have really made adequate steps.
So are we looking for a motion to, what are we looking for a motion for?
To issue the contracts to the 3 teachers that we recommend for, who have a solid plan for licensure. That's not the best wording.
And
Yeah.
let me just make sure, and that's going to say this contract is issued contingent upon securing a full, whatever.
Contingent upon receipt of Vermont AOE licensure is the statement that it'll say at the bottom.
Is there a date associated with?
The statute is, and our contracts are already printed with language that, because we have teachers whose license expired June 30th of this year too. So
Right.
the language is that before their first day of work, they must provide a license to the superintendent.
So they have
So
December,
technically,
essentially?
they have until like August 21st or 22nd of this
Okay.
year to give us their updated license. And that's the same for all people, not just provisional licenses, but all of our educators.
So if Jen will entertain a motion, I'll make a motion to approve the issuance of contracts for teachers holding, the 3 teachers holding provisional licenses.
With, no,
That made a plan with Bonnie, with
Yes.
with
Yes,
human
that have
resources.
that have
Yeah.
an adequate plan to obtain licensure.
That have an adequate plan
Plan.
as deemed adequate by our HR, Director of HR,
Yes.
and Superintendent.
We could just say as recommended by the administration.
As recommended by you.
It's probably shorter. But I think we, I appreciate that.
So let me ask Pierrette, can I repeat that?
Oh dear.
Give Perez a break.
I don't have an adequate plan to do so.
Pierrette knows this better than anybody here.
It's just too familiar, my gosh. You approve the issuance of a contract to 3 teachers that have made an adequate plan and is recommended by administration. Does that sound good?
That's my motion.
Perfect. Any seconds?
I'll second that.
Now you have to repeat it.
I can't do that, but I can say. Yes.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion, everybody in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 8-0.
Bonnie, could I just ask that when that's done, if you could maybe just send out the verbiage so we just know what that looks like?
Do you wanna see their name? You want
No,
to
not
see-
the names, but just like what that language actually looks like in terms of like what the plan is. So we know, because when I clicked on it, I couldn't see anything, I couldn't pull anything out in the
Oh.
agenda.
Oh, right, yeah, there's nothing to pull up, but I can send you the statement that's in the section from the master agreement, and then I can send you what the word is that I'll put on the bottom, and I can let you know who the teachers are as well.
Thank
So next up is business and facility items, and we'll have the warrants. Is that something that can still be read, or? Okay.
You're wrong, committee when that happens, you want to.
Okay, all right.
Actually, I'm trying to stay to make sure there's no questions about the committee. I need to find out from myself, okay.
Accounts payables, 1,500,700. 1,507.
Can we just do the total?
You can just do the total, yes.
That's okay, thank you. So accounts payable, payroll checks, payroll, other disbursements, which is direct deposits, federal and state taxes, payroll deductions, which is your health, dental, retirement dues, and et cetera, is 3,533,200.76.
I will make that motion to approve those warrants.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay, seeing there's no discussion, everybody in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Action carries 8-0. And next is the lease for the lighting project.
I was gonna share the screen. Okay, so is it okay if I go here?
Sure.
So I did have a conversation today, I sent a kind of a last minute invite to facility task force members, so Peter, Toby, and Dawn, and we did have a conversation today. There was a bit of different information received from the leasing company in regards to the lighting project that the board has approved, so I just kind of wanted to walk you through what those differences are in hopes that we could in fact award a lease tonight if that's the desire of the board. So basically at the top, EEI lighting contract, you have a total amount of 1.1 million. The Efficiency Vermont rebate is a 230,000, so the amount that we need to finance, or the lease amount, is $895,061. And we then work through the guaranteed energy savings and the operational savings to get a total savings of $46,876. I just think that's important because some of the information I'm bringing to you tonight regarding kind of the bottom line to the budget or the impact to the budget annually as a lease payment is higher than what we anticipated, and I'll tell you why. So originally, if you see under MLC's proposal, it says original, the term was 15 years. We talked about extending the warranty on the lights through EEI so that we could obtain a 15-year lease. Sorry. I'm lightheaded tonight and I'm not sure why, sorry about that. The original lease rate is 5.17%, and so the annual payment was supposed to be that $81,481. And then if you look over in column F, you can see that the annual funding needed beyond savings was approximately $34,600. We realized, long story short, MLC, the leasing company, made an error when they were providing the information to us. I actually have a letter if anyone would like to see it because I asked them to provide one because I've never had a bank do that. So we were given a letter from them explaining that basically what they did on this very formal quote that they provide us with the amortization schedule is that they
the person preparing it accidentally used a lease rate of 4.17% instead of 5.17%, but nowhere on the documentation did it say that, other than on the top of her amortization, but in all the body of the language, it was using a multiplier, which is how they calculate this payment, principal and interest, that was representing the wrong numbers. I didn't realize that right away. I did realize it. I brought that to their attention, let them know that I'm not sure why that happened. They apologized. I told them, please go back and do the best that you can, because this is very inconvenient now that you gave us a multiplier that was incorrect. They actually provided it to EEI, and then EEI provided it to us. But long story short, they went back. I asked them to work on the rate. They worked on the rate and got it down to 4.987. Still at 15 years, annual payment of $86,156. So this is all happening, conversations are happening basically. They went back to their bank to see if there was anything else they could do. I was asking them to acknowledge the fact that they made a mistake. There's an $850 fee associated with these kinds of leases. I asked if possibly they could waive that, if there was anything better they could do with the lease payment, because this is still much higher annually than what we thought, and over the course of 15 years, obviously it adds up. They came back and basically said that because, and I'm sure people have been watching the news and watching what's going on with banks, they can actually no longer provide us with a 15-year lease. That none of the banks are all pulling their offer of 15 years. They'll only go as far as 12 years. I let them know that was extremely disappointing. I've never had this happen before. But basically our scenario now that we're operating under is that we could get a 10 at the bottom there, a 10 or a 12-year lease at a lower interest rate. So the annual payment would be much higher, so it's not as budget neutral as we were hoping for. I'm just gonna go up here actually.
Yeah, instead of $39,000
Right.
a year, it would be either $52,917 or $67,300.
Well, this is above and beyond, so.
Above and beyond
yeah.
the savings, but that would be the net additional expense.
Right, and so the total payment, we could do annual or semi-annual, obviously you're not paying interest on some of that money for 6 additional months, so it saves you a little bit of money. But this would be the annual payments after the savings from the energy. It would be these two that we'd be considering. But I think this is important because after talking with Peter and Dawn today, we would save, if we went to a 10-year, we would save about almost $64,000 in interest over the term of the loan. Originally, we were trying to be as budget neutral as possible with this. But of course, because of the timing of the Efficiency Vermont rebate, we kind of have to move quickly also. So I believe the recommendation from the task force members was to move forward at the rate of 4.69%. Term of 10 years, and actually to do an annual payment and not the semi-annual, even though we could save about $1,000 a year doing the the semi-annual. The annual payment in year 1 on this one, as we talked about, won't hit until our fiscal year 25 budget, so it gives us another year to get those funds into the budget. And if we did the semi-annual, the first one, or at least the first half, would hit next year in the budget that we've already prepared, we've already anticipated spending money on. And so I've never had this experience. I can't tell you enough. I don't want to make this a larger issue than it is, but I've shared our dissatisfaction. I've pushed as hard as I can. We've had multiple conversations. I've never had a bank do this. I've never had a bank make a mistake on the amortization schedule either. So we've done business with them since 2016, probably at least 10 leases that we've had with them, and this has never happened. They're on the national board for lending in the country, so
They're not a shoddy out. So they acknowledge that their mistake and that they own it, and this is not usual for them, but the upshot is their original proposal to us and the quote to us, they've withdrawn.
So I was listening a bit on the facilities meeting, so I got a bit of it, but for anybody like listening in, or other, can you just broadly explain, or could Peter explain, why we need this?
This is our funding mechanism for this energy efficiency project, which is replacing all of the lighting in all of our schools, or doing a retrofit.
So we have to?
We've signed a contract for that.
This board signed a contract. Peter, please.
No, there's a significant savings. The Efficiency Vermont, that's over $230,410. We know we have to replace all these lights anyways at some point, because they won't sell the condensed fluorescent lights anymore. We know we're gonna go to these LED anyways. This was a good opportunity to take advantage of that savings that if we don't do it now, it won't be there. So that's the biggest reason.
And the good news with going to 10 years is after that, so in the 11th year through probably the 25th year, when maybe these units are no good anymore, we will still be saving
40-something.
or more. This total savings is still going to the school district.
We don't own them after that 10 years though, right?
We do own them,
We do?
and these leases, you own it for a dollar, a penny, whatever, at the end. We never pay anything for a dollar or a penny, but. When you pushed back, did they respond in any way? Like, I'm not only surprised that this happened, but did they offer to, like you had said, you know, nix that $850 or any other sort of compensation?
Honestly, not at first.
Laura was quite strident with her feedback. I was in the second meeting.
That does not surprise me.
You know, especially the second meeting where I was there was a lot of, you know, let me tell you the whole story. No, we don't need the whole story over again. We just need you to, and we made the point of please write a letter to the board so that we can have it, it's public record really, that, you know, a mistake was made and it wasn't the board or the administration that made a mistake. And that then please do the very best that you can for us, which I understand the constant changing of rates at this time.
I received emails since then and phone calls. I got 2 emails from her today again, just saying, I wish there was something I can do. I value your business, but unfortunately, the banks just are not willing to work with her at all. And I don't think she's used to making this mistake. I think this was like a thing that happened and she couldn't control it, so.
But you did get them to come down on the interest rate.
I did, but then the payment was higher, which was,
Yeah.
which is how I got the mistake.
Right.
Yeah, but I think the 4.69, quite frankly, right now, on almost $1 million is a pretty good rate for a lease. Of course, it's not a straight borrowing, it's a lease, which is the only thing that we can do, so, in this situation.
Laura, this is Don, I have a question.
Okay?
If we're gonna use the 10 years annual, when will we pay that money? Will we pay it mid-year? We have to pay it July 1st?
Depends on when we close on the loan. I'm using March right now, as our, you know, is a year following our closing is the first payment due. So it all depends on when we close. I'm hoping we can close before the end of March.
Okay, so if we close into March or April, we wouldn't have to pay until that time in 2 years, right?
Right. Well,
24.
1 year, 24.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I know you said it today, and I think you said it tonight. The difference between semi-annual and annual is how much per year?
It's a little over $1,000.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So based on the facility committee recommendation, Peter, how would you like to make that motion?
I would make the motion that we go with the 10-year, 4.69% financing annual rate.
I'll second that.
Peter, were you making that motion?
Yeah.
Okay. That was seconded.
Don't second it. If you wanna hear comment, yeah?
Did it,
I seconded it too.
the only question I had thought about this since the facility meeting I attended, does this incorporate the cost of disposal of the old bulbs?
I believe it does, and the light fixtures, if we don't want to do that by ourselves. We actually, can I take a minute right now to say, we actually have a bunch of 2-foot, do you remember the specs on them? If anyone is in need of light fixtures that are almost brand new, that were purchased as part of the lighting upgrade in Highgate, and there was some damage to some of them, so they had to order different ones. It was a whole situation, but there was no extra cost to the school district. We had to take those down to put the original, what we really wanted in. Those are sitting in storage right now, and we do not need them. And they are like new, and so the school district could potentially sell those at a reasonable price if someone's in the market for light fixtures.
That won't be able to get bulbs.
No, these are, no,
Oh,
no,
those
these are,
are.
yes, these
They're
are.
okay.
I was thinking that too,
I
was like,
No.
So any commercial building, anybody that's currently has those old-fashioned fluorescent might be in the market for those, and the school district happens to have some, but they're not the kinds of unit that we actually want in a school environment, in classrooms, so.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion, 10-year loan, 4.69
6.9 annual rate.
Yep. Lease, 4.69. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries 8-0. All right, next is the Highgate boiler contract.
Okay, so I believe you've heard this information before, but I now am bringing to you, and it's linked in the agenda, a Highgate boiler improvement contract in the amount of $319,495 with EEI. Basically, they will secure all necessary permits and required bonds. They will demolish and remove portions of the hydraulic piping systems, pumps, and specialties within the boiler room. They'll install new pumps, air dirt separator, expansion tank, and other specialties in the boiler room. Furnish and install circuit setting valves on fin tube radiation zones throughout the school. Furnish and install access panels as needed to allow access to piping and valve locations. Furnish and install new variable frequency drives, new pumps in the boiler room. Provide all electrical work. Furnish and install new valves with actuators to allow for isolation of individual boilers. Provide new building automation systems by TCV or Temperature Controls of Vermont to properly sequence pumps and boilers. And they will rebalance entire hydraulic heating system. And this will be work that happens this summer. The funding source, as I discussed with the facility task force, is actually going to be ESSER, but it will be ESSER funds that become part of our indirect calculation, which is allowable with federal funds, and so it makes it a little bit easier to spend those funds. Those funds, through this calculation, become general fund dollars, basically. It allows us to save money when we issue in contracts like this, not having to follow Davis-Bacon laws and some of these other federally required laws that oftentimes make these types of construction contracts very, very expensive. And so we have to then just follow state laws and not federal. So it would be ESSER indirect.
I'd make a motion that we allow the board chair to sign the Highgate boiler contract as Laura proposed.
I'll second that.
Any discussion, questions?
Renee. Thank you.
Seeing no discussion or questions, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those,
Aye.
all those opposed? Motion carries 8-0. So now we're on to 10B, town meeting debrief, vacant Highgate seat, and the next steps.
So we had just wanted to have, the purpose for this was just if anyone wanted to make a comment. Usually we're very thankful to our community for passing our school budget. And if there were any comments that anybody wanted to make here on the board, and then we do have an open seat, so generally I would share what the process is for that.
So I would just like to thank the voters. I'm hail from Swanton, but everybody voted for me or against me. So I would like to thank the voters. I think I was on the finance committee, the facilities committee this last year. And this budget was particularly important for me because I knew the roof was in there. And, you know, I breathed a big sigh of relief when that passed, because I knew it was very important for us. We had some interesting dynamics with including that in the budget, but I think it was a great budget for our entire district, and I think it's great that we passed it. And one thing that it keeps resonating with me ever since the informational meeting we had was the comments from Mr. Rupp. I just keep thinking that in my head, how he said he wasn't opposed to higher taxes. He just was hoping for results, and I think we are delivering them. And he also pointed out, or he was shocked, I think and I was checking it before this meeting, we're $1,000 below on our per pupil. So that's not comfortable for me, for the community, and that, you know, what could we be if we were more up to where it's going to cost money, but I think we need to be aware of where we are compared to our neighbors, because it's competitive to keep and retain and attract our working families to your communities, and they look at our school systems. So thank you for passing the budget. That's me.
I would love to sort of piggyback on that for a future appeal. You know, we talked earlier about losing students, losing teachers, and I don't see that changing unless we come together and increase spending on our students and our teachers. And I think that I was not at the informational meeting, but I think that what you just shared is very, I don't know what the proper word is, I'm gonna say poignant, but I don't know. You know, I'm not one to just wanna raise budgets and spend. I want to do that and see results, and if that result is having a school district that people are comfortable sending their children to and look forward to that transition instead of be hesitant about it, I think that is critical, and I think that is really the foundation of longevity of a successful and healthy community. So that again is a future appeal, but I think it's really important, and I think it's important to start talking about that now, because I don't want anyone to be able to say, well, this came out of left field.
Just add real quickly, thank you to the voters. It wasn't always certain that the budget would pass, so I think having it pass the first time was great. It's the first time I've seen that. I'd also like to thank the staff. I know a lot of it worked out. I think those flyers, those cutouts that went out, I know made a big difference. A lot of people got those, and it was a great, concise way to explain the information. Kind of like what Toby said, though, I think the expectation on MVU this coming year is going to be very important. Most of the feedback from the elementary schools is usually good, but just in terms of like that's where it all ends up as one district. So I think that's something for a future agenda to really dive into a little bit more. Good job, thank you.
So, are we ready to talk about the vacant seat?
I'll just
Peter.
make one comment that, so we've done a lot this last few years to bring up teacher salaries, to retain teachers. But to Rennie's points, we're starting to see things go in the right direction. but we've got to see it. We've got to see the improvement. We will not pass another budget with that much increase the next time. I'm glad that it went through, but I think we've got our work cut out for us for this next budget that we're going to do. We've got to, we've got it in there for the roof now, so we can use that, but we can't keep going on top of that. This was a very close vote, don't kid ourselves, right? So we really have to pay attention, and we really have to make sure we all want the best outcomes for our students, and we need to start seeing it. If we don't, it's going to be harder to pass any increases, it's going to be harder to pass budgets. So we've got our work cut out.
I was just thinking, if there was some way we could, so we give the updates when it gets close to budget and put the videos out. I thought the videos were amazing, the flyer really helped. As I talked to more and more people outside of, being at the school that we're voting, family members and stuff. But is there maybe can we come up with some kind of plan, and this is just me, how I think I throw out ideas of, continuing with the videos, hey, this is what we've done, this is what we're working on with the teachers, these are things that we're sending them to, and not just saving it all to the end of the year when it's time to vote.
Yeah. We started that this year, but it was our first year, so we did do some right from the get-go. But people have to get used to the fact that we have them, right? So that then they start going, we send them out. So yes, one of the things we've talked about is, highlighting a graduate, different things like that, so we can really talk about the outcomes in different ways, maybe tell different stories.
Right, but I don't think just about the students, I think,
what's happening in the schools.
Right,
Yeah.
and hey, we have these, we sent our teachers, or some of our teachers have participated in taking these classes to, have better, I think it needs to be a little something on everything, not just focused on one thing, so that we are proving to the public that we are working on it.
I think it's also important to note that the budgets that did fail, Barry in particular is coming out because I have family there. It failed because the cost per pupil was too low, and the community was upset about that. So I think that is also something that we need to balance with everything else that is included in a budget. That was sort of heard very loud and clear, that it wasn't because they were upset about the increase, they were upset that it wasn't sufficient and it wasn't doing enough for the students. So I think that's just something to keep in mind also.
I'll just add that the professional organizations are having a lot of conversation also about things you've heard me say before, ESSER funding going away, Act 127 weighting changes, still the impact of Act 173, what's going to happen with the economy just in general, all these things that are kind of hitting the demands on our capital improvement needs, and that's happening all over the state. So there will be, and please expect, collaboration between VSA, VSBA, and my professional group, BASBO, and maybe others. But there's a lot of conversations happening just to try to see how we can educate communities across the state. People know it's not just MVSD, it's everywhere, and that we're trying to prepare for these things that are going to be a plan that has to get us through the next 5 years, because there's going to be some budget pressures or revenue changes that we can't control. And how do we manage that?
Anybody else? Okay, yes, the next steps to try to get the vacant Highgate seat.
Well, one, if you know anyone in Highgate that you think would be someone who would like to serve, on this board, please reach out to them. We will advertise, we'll use social media, of course, but I think it's important, those face-to-face connections, people that you know, I think that's important. As soon as the board has candidates, the folks would need to reach out to central office, either to me or to the board chair. We'll advertise the email addresses so that people who are interested can reach out that way. And then the board would move forward with an appointment. If you have multiple people, then you would have interviews.
What if there are none?
Then we just make sure that we regularly advertise.
Okay.
Unfortunately, across the state, there are a lot of boards with vacancies for multiple years. And that's not something we want in our community. But, you know, you have to make it look fun too. Like, you're all sort of, nobody's smiling. We have a good time.
Having fun 45 minutes ago.
Exactly. Exactly. And Joyce provides snacks. We can have snacks all the time.
Kids and snacks.
Kids and snacks. I know.
So we have to remember, even though we're only 8 members right now, the quorum is still 5.
Mhm.
Oh, yes? Well, yeah, more than half. Or what? Okay.
Well, it would be, anyways, if you were short 3 members, the quorum is still 5 because it's 5. There is 5 members, even if they're not all filled.
Is there, just for the Highgate seat, is there a certain amount of time it needs to be received to be warned for like a next meeting to be voted upon? Is there like a time frame?
Huh. I don't know that we've come across that. I think it would go on an agenda
Just goes on the next
Yeah.
agenda?
as soon as we've got applicants. I'm using the word plural. Just,
I look forward to the posting and the messenger.
yes.
If, just to have it on record, can you give an overview of like what the requirements are? You know, it's the 2 meetings per
2 meetings a month, that's it.
Yeah.
We haven't had the next part of the conversation yet, which is 2 meetings.
Can't fib.
2 meetings a month. You know, you talked about earlier, the VSBA board member ethics. You know, you want to try and come to as many board meetings as you can, and read the materials ahead of time, and, you know, ask questions of your administrators and of one another. We typically here have a process where new board members are sort of brought up to speed by the chair or a committee, or people who are interested in doing that. And obviously, once appointed, you would need to be sworn in for, and this appointment would only be until the next election, which is typically town meeting. And then you would need to run, should you be enticed into staying, the person would then run for the rest of the term. Ran a great example, he served for just under a year and then ran again, and now he'll have 2 more years in the seat.
So it's a 1-year obligation.
Mm-hmm.
And we do pay you.
There is.
There is.
It's not
for you. In case that's an enticement.
Peter just reminded me too, there is on the MVSD website, if you go to the school board section, there is a school board job description.
Yes.
Which would help people in their decision process.
Committee membership and structure, discuss and action, facility, finance, and other committees. And I do believe, I remember seeing in the emails if we want to continue having the committees. So there's the facilities, the finance,
We talked about board goals and whether, and I wasn't at that meeting, I may have had the COVID at that time. But we had talked about, and Devin has had conversations with a lot of people, but revamping some of the committees a little bit. We definitely need the finance committee. I would expect the facility committee, policy committee. Toby, I haven't forgotten, sent a request that we appoint someone to serve on our regional advisory board for our tech centers. That's 4 times a year that meets. That's during the school day now. But, just a general discussion. Maybe if I could suggest that we begin with finance. And then, because we need that, and the rest are wants, and then we can discuss it and go from there. We may not solve it all tonight.
Finance committee needs 3 members. Terry was a member and Steve was a member, and they're no longer with the board. So I've been reviewing and approving the check runs every week. So we would need, can I still serve on that, or is that, how's that work?
I think you can, I'm not sure that it depends on your demand on your time.
Right? I'm gonna graciously say if anybody would like, any 3 board members would like to volunteer to be on the finance committee.
Well, what does that entail?
So it is all electronic for the most part, well, not all, but for the most part it's electronic right now. So once a week, we send you a voucher which contains information on the checks, who we're paying and the amount and where we've charged it to. It's anywhere from 10 to 35 pages long. You review it, you ask us for questions, we provide detail. Jen and Terry and Steve have had wonderful questions, we love it. It lets us like dig in and, see from your perspective, so we respond, and then we ask, so usually we do that we send it out on a Monday, we get responses by a Wednesday, it allows us to cut checks on a Thursday, and your approval allows the treasurer to sign the check. She's signing based on your approval. So if you say go, she signs the checks after we print them. Other than that, there's credit card vouchers that need to be signed every couple of months. We call you in to review credit card vouchers that could take you a week, or it could take you 2 hours, or an hour, or 20 minutes. Other than that, it would be anything that you want your finance committee to be. I've seen it done different ways in different school districts, so.
It's been pretty successful.
So I'm getting from this, the only one that we really need to decide on tonight, which committee, is finance, because there's probably some general accounting crap we have to be
Hey,
in compliance.
it's my own life.
It's a $44 million business, Toby.
I just say that because I've done finance before, and it actually kind of is interesting to what Ty brought up today,
Yeah.
because it is seeing every,
Yeah.
all the money you're spending. It's typically after the fact, but it is still seen, it is a check. I bring this up because I've done finance before. I'm not really one to want to do that, and I'm not one, I've been on facilities, it's been a great eye-opener for me, but even that's not my strength. I don't know if I have any strengths, but, so I'm not looking to be on facilities. I'll do finance. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but there's someone in particular who I think is very strong with finance and did great on the presentation of our budget. I really think, because the finance committee, I think, can be more than just reviewing the bills.
Right.
And I don't want to put any pressure on anyone, but I know someone who I'd like to see on the finance committee.
I'd be happy to do it again, too.
Oh, you were on it before?
I was on it before.
Oh.
I did what Jen did, I stepped off because chair was too much time to do that.
I think
Yeah.
Devin speaks very well on the tax scheme that we have to present to voters. I think so. I think that ties with it.
First things don't call us scheme.
Yeah. Not our tax scheme. The city's
So does the finance, is it really a committee, or, I guess I'm asking in the past, you guys ever meet, or do you all go in individually?
No, I think
look
when
at
we
the-
originally started it though, there was discussion of maybe we would start the budget process with the finance committee, and then it turned into that information kind of coming to everyone, and like the timeline, and talking about marketing, and, you know, all that,
So
but
there's no
they can be
official
with.
meetings or anything, it's just you're going in, checking documents?
Yeah, I think the board had delegated the authority to approve the checks to the committee, which was kind of the reason for the formal
But it can be
arrangement.
more than that, Peter.
But yes,
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And so, yeah, I mean, I don't wanna be in the finance committee either, I'm gonna like piggyback off Toby here. But those are things, I wouldn't mind going to a committee meeting about finances, or, you know, once, I'll reach out to Laura about ESSER, but maybe that's something that, you know, she would bring to the finance committee, or the budget, or, you know, maybe there's some things that we would know as board members if we listen in. I enjoy going, you know, listening to the facilities meetings. They're super interesting. We get the condensed version here, the, you know, 15-20 minutes condensed version, but you've got an hour and a half of really good conversation happening when you listen in. So, anyhow, I think,
Is that a volunteer?
no.
I know, I was like, wait, you started, you don't want
You
to.
probably want
I-
to, you probably want to stay in the policy one bit.
I don't like policies.
You don't like that either?
I was seeing a spark of interest twinkling in these three gentlemen's eyes here. You know, Peter, I mean, when you asked the question, it just seemed to kind of light up, or is that just the lighting?
I'm interested, but I'm also interested in another.
Right.
I was gonna say, it would, if you asked about timing, it would be, just because there's so much facility stuff going on right now, I don't know if it's appropriate to just continue to email the existing members. That's what I'm doing right now in the absence of having a meeting, but after today, there may be things that come up week by week. I mean, I just don't know. We have a lot of wheels in motion right now in facilities. It's actually keeping me up at night, so.
Could finance and facilities be combined, since so much of facilities is
No.
We've got almost 7 million going this weekend, this summer. Yeah.
Because it seems like we need people for finance.
So would we, who would like to be on the finance committee, Toby and Devin?
I heard Rennick.
Rennick.
Rennick and Devin, I think.
Rennick and Devin are there.
a third would be appreciated, because
Yeah.
we need 2 signers and sometimes somebody's.
Somebody
Yeah,
doesn't.
somebody's out, you need to work.
Yeah.
And right now, as it stands, like I said, you get an email, and I'm happy to have it be more, but right now, the only demand on your time is on Monday, you get an email, you look at it and get us a response or questions by Wednesday. So it's pretty manageable.
If I'm at the bottom of the barrel, I'll do it.
Joanne,
We're at the bottom of the barrel.
first it's your house, Steve, that's the bottom of the barrel. Well, I mean, don't be self-deprecating.
I think Rennick, there's 2 of us, so make our chance.
Yeah.
There you go.
So Joanne, are you volunteering to be on the finance committee?
Sure.
So much enthusiasm.
Okay. Well, one thing I do know about you is you're very dutiful and you will follow up.
So who do we, Devin?
Yeah, Laura will be kicking me off next year.
And Rennick?
You'll hear from Anne Marie also. I always point them in the direction. Sometimes it goes to kosher because it's a question about a curriculum or something we buy. If it's just a general AP question, I might go, why is it coded there? And then, you know, it could be, there's a group of people that are on that. Yes.
Would anybody, can we,
Okay, yeah.
I'm just feeling a little, like, we should also do the facility committee tonight too, because there's so much going on with that, and
Next meeting is the first week of the second week.
yeah.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
And I really wanna be done on facility because it's not my strength. It's not my wheelhouse, and it's very important, and as far as I'm concerned, I hope Don and Peter wanna do it again, cause they're all over it, they're on it, learned so much from Don on, especially with EEI, using EEI. I think they do our district well on that committee, those two. And if we need a third, it's not me.
We appreciate you serving on it though.
I just wanna say, I listened in on that, and the amount of knowledge and stuff that Peter got is, it's a lot. It's like a whole thing to itself.
It absolutely is.
It sounds like they're calling you, Peter.
I'm willing to serve, I don't know how well I do, but I do try.
Dawn, they're calling you too, they want you on it.
Would you be willing to serve again on the?
I would suggest that if there's no one on the board at this time has a burning desire to be on facilities, I'll join Peter, and when we get a new board member from Highgate, ask that person if they would join us. They're gonna end up on some committee, probably finance. I guess the bright girl, I think, Peter, we have so many things that are on my docket right now. I don't expect not to be.
Great.
Thank you, Dawn.
The one thing too though about the committees is that any board member can listen in and give their opinion.
Absolutely.
Like, that would happen all the time. So that happened on a lot of board goals, like someone would join in and.
I'm definitely thankful for the facility meeting because you guys, from what I'm seeing, you're going through everything and then you're presenting to us the shorter version. I just think you guys work really hard and I'm gonna get to one of those meetings.
Our board meetings would be a lot longer.
Yes, they would.
Sure would. No, I
Like,
appreciate
it gives
it.
you guys the time to focus just on facilities during the meeting, that's it. That's your focus and being able to present it well to us, I think.
So, what I'm hearing is Peter and Dawn for now. And then other committees, do we wanna come back next time and have a longer discussion about that? Is that what I'm hearing?
I would love to throw out, I don't know what this would be, but I think it's important to have like a curriculum or outcomes or something that can help address, you know, what Ty was saying and is a concern of mine. That is something that I would be wholeheartedly behind. Again, I don't know what that would be, but I do feel like it's something that is needed, and I think that is a strength of mine. So, like, whatever that might be, that is certainly something that I would be interested in being part of.
We had talked about having either a curriculum committee a few times a year, I mean, and then a policy committee a few times a year, so that we weren't having like 7 committee meetings a month, but, you know, or meeting just to meet, but that we had, you know, things that were planned throughout the year, and we put certain people in charge of them, and give reports to the committee, and talk about what reports we want to the board. So maybe we can, it would be great if people had their ideas and they wanted to give them to me and to Jen, and then when Jen and I meet, we can have a conversation, maybe we can put together some ideas for people, and then have a broader discussion at the next board meeting.
Yeah, I mean, I think people should throw out their ideas right
Yeah.
now. I know Devin had put out email, Terry had actually, gone over some ideas. If John, you wanna present some of those that you have?
Well, if the board is okay, like take 2 minutes and then I can give it to you, Julie, and to Jen. So I'm piggybacking off everybody. Piggyback off Megan, and I wrote down student outcome committee or academic committee. And I had like all the things that Julie just kind of mentioned. This committee could, you know, hear or, you know, get more information on the improvement plan, the outcomes either by grade or cohort, the truancy, the curriculum, professional development. Like I kind of just grouped everything underneath there. We had talked about possibly a superintendent evaluation committee. So, you know, just, and they could, instead of just all of us meeting in executive session, I think we just kind of did it once. I know Devin sent out the information, we, reviewed it, and then we met. So, but actually, it would be fair if we could meet, the committee, not we, but the committee could meet, 2-3 times a year, just to be more prepared, I think, when it came to the evaluation. Board Development Committee, or, I don't know, possibly retreat committee. Again, just meeting a couple times a year, not every single month. And so just to be able to bounce, ideas off, and then, present just a couple of things to the whole board. This committee can meet, go over 10 things, and then just, break it down. Policies Committee. Also, I know Julie, you're very good, you tell us what we need to do, but then there's a handful that sometimes board members, will bring up to the committee, so, when that comes, yeah. Ag Committee, Dawn and I do that now. I mean, I don't think it's, anyhow, it's something that I don't mind continuing to do as long as Mr. Palmer invites me. I'm happy to go to the Ag Committee meetings.
What is that?
What is that?
Well,
So the Ag Department
It's
has
an
like
advisory
a-
committee, and it's so that the administration of the school can get input from the field on programs and get feedback on the ag program.
Yeah.
Ag is a very important part of our district, so I
Yes.
think it's important for the community to know that there's a
Representation.
committee dedicated to, furtherance of ag and all that it does for our community.
So, sorry. The last one that had been mentioned was an executive committee where Jen Rennick and Peter could have their own time to meet a few times a year, once a year, every other week. Maybe,
What's there to take from that?
maybe you can handle the retreat.
Right, that could be a part of it. Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I do like the idea of an executive committee. And sort of setting, in my head, like how I would view an executive committee, sort of setting the tone for the board itself and setting any board goals that we have. And then also, I always think it's a bad idea to be siloed and have, like one individual, one board member be responsible for the whole board. So like, if somebody comes to Julie with a complaint and it's just Julie and Jen discussing it, and then it comes out, and the rest of the board wasn't aware of it, or somebody, throws a fit, and then it's all back on Jen. I'm always of the opinion that it would be better to have more heads involved, not only because I feel like you get better results when you have more than one person, but also just as a safety net and not run the risk of having one person sort of be responsible for any sort of, I don't know, negative outcomes.
I know Julie mentioned it, so
Yeah.
for next meeting, I would like to see us decide, and I don't know if the other districts that utilize our tech center are prepared for it, but I think it's important that we appoint someone to our RAB, even if they're not ready. Sometimes you have to make things happen, and I think it's important if we have an appointment to the RAB, because I do think we want to be more involved with tech for our community. So,
I'm hearing your interest.
I think you just.
so I don't, if anyone else is really interested, I'm okay, but I definitely I think it's important of us to appoint someone. And I don't think it should be done on this meeting because it's not on the agenda. I'd like it on the agenda. That way, the other communities, if they need to know how that happened, well, it's on our agenda. So I think anybody else interested, think about it until our next weekend meeting, because it doesn't have to be me, but I definitely, I don't wanna have it unappointed.
Is it something that would be connected with the ag committee, like would be?
No,
Okay.
I think it's two separate things.
Yeah,
It's,
right, I'm
yeah.
not saying combined, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, is it, like, if Joanne is really passionate about the ag committee, would she be a good fit for that? Or if Dawn is super passionate about it, could that be a nice?
Yeah, it might be, if
Or
either of them are interested, yeah, there is a tie in there. It's a regional tech center, that's we all own it,
Right.
even though it's not.
Is
in our
that
district.
We don't
related
govern
to the
it,
thing
yeah.
that we
Right.
went through, the legislators breakfast thing at,
That's our regional tech center, yeah, Northwest Career and Technical
so
Center.
you're talking about representation on that?
It's not the governance of it. There's two ways that tech centers are governed, either by a separate board as an own body, or this one in particular is associated with the high school. So the Maple Run School District governs the Northwestern Career and Technical Center. The Regional Advisory Board is made up of educators and workforce development folks and school board members, and we typically have one school board member because they happen to be an educator, so they're able to come to the meetings. And we talk about workforce development issues, and we actually are a combined RAB because the county's so small in terms of students. So we cover Cold Hollow and Northwest Tech and talk about ag as well. And, you know, we talk about workforce development, and our work this year has been to plan a sort of a tour in April of leadership through manufacturing companies in our community. So we've been focused on that aspect so that we can build interest and communication about the workforce. But it's that kind of a board.
Okay.
Yep.
Jen, I'd like to weigh in on this. I do not think the Ag Committee should be the committee to address the technical center issues. We are very focused on our own school's ag program. I think we've made great progress in the last couple of years, and I think the tech center needs a board representative to attend their 3 or 4 meetings a year with a very different agenda
I
than we have.
wasn't suggesting it was,
It's a good question.
Thank you, Dawn. So if we can generate a list and put it on the next agenda for the other committees.
Okay.
And we have our facility and finance set in place tonight, which I think is most important to us.
Just, I don't know if the facility committee wants to continue to meet on the second Tuesday, or second Monday, excuse me, that would mean always having a meeting, a facility meeting on the Monday and then a board meeting on a Tuesday every single time, and we had tried to give ourselves a buffer between that and the other.
Thought that's why, we were meeting the second, now that what you're saying, it would be right from, so
Yeah.
do we wanna go with the first Tuesday or the third Tuesday, one or the other?
We were meeting on Mondays, but I'm happy to do it on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
I think we just picked Monday.
That doesn't matter to me, whatever works. Let's do our regular scheduled meeting that we already have.
And then talk about it. Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to point it out, okay.
Okay.
Was there any other committees that we were missing for possible consideration that anyone was interested in?
If you think of something, you know, we can just send it to Jen and me, and we'll make a list, and we can have discussions about it and appoint people who are interested.
Okay. So the future agenda items, that would be subject to change, right? Because we're gonna
Yep.
add some stuff in here
Mhm.
now.
But we do have some things scheduled already,
Yep.
including some science presentations. We always will have, this is the season for our new teacher hires, administrative contracts. If you want to do board resolutions again, yeah, it would be important to talk about that soon. End of year data presentations will be coming up as well. The next item 12 I left that blank because we've only had one board meeting in March. We postponed this one because, not so much because of the snow, but because of attendance to do this work that you've done today. People wanted to be able to be here. So, and Joyce, this would be her second meeting, and she has, potentially next week. So I don't know whether you want to have another board meeting next week, and then start on the second week in April. The fourth week in April happens to be school vacation, which doesn't matter to me, but I'm pointing it out. As we're shifting with our new schedule here.
I will say I will not be able to be here if we do have it next Tuesday, because it is the rescheduled MVU night.
Right. So, I know it's important to Joyce and her team that have prepared a presentation that they have notice about that.
Does anybody have any scheduled conflicts?
Well, if we don't go next week and we get into the 2 and 4 rotation, we're looking at 3 weeks without a meeting, basically, right?
Yeah, I think if we just changed the 2nd and 4th, and next week's the 4th.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
So we just go ahead with it.
Next week. Is
Otherwise
that all right
we'll-
with you, Joyce?
Absolutely, probably gonna have leftovers, so you guys don't get over there and eat.
All right.
So the next meeting would be the 28th
28th.
at 6 o'clock.
And then the next one after that would be April 11th.
And then April 25th.
Yes.
Do we have to have a motion for that?
You already did. It wouldn't be special because you just arranged for it to
The
be the
meeting,
4th, as
okay.
Devin pointed out. I think that's all set.
Possible, so the negotiations update for, that would definitely be an
Yes.
executive session.
Yeah, it will be brief.
Right.
But we do want to give the board an update on the status of support staff negotiations, so.
Rennick's
For-
favorite thing.
We would definitely want a motion and a finding for, to go into executive session.
Do we want to invite anybody in?
I would, me and Bonnie,
Yep.
but Laura needs to go home.
Yep.
Yes.
You can see her fading.
Chairman Jen, Ms. Chairman,
Yes, Don.
hello?
Hi, I can hear you.
Before we go to executive session, I have 2 comments I'd like to have be part of minutes. The first one is that, Julie will work on this, but I would urge you, Jen, to go to the training for board chairs. I think board chairs over the years have found it very valuable. As I say, I know Julie will certainly propose it, but I hope that works out. And secondly, I'd like to have the minutes show. Thank Devin Batchelor for an outstanding year as our chair. I think history will show that Devin started this on some new trends and some new ways of doing things that hopefully will make this board more successful and hopefully will lead to better student outcomes. So I certainly would like to see that in minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Don.
So do we have a motion for executive session?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Do you have a second for
Second.
Rennick? Thank you. All those in favor of going into executive session at 8:31, inviting in
Those two. Julie and Bonnie?
Julie and Bonnie.
And the purpose is negotiations. update.
Negotiations.
Negotiations, okay, yes, that was finalized. Say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?